Hi, my name is Karen. I made a deal with my adult son that if I made a video or two, he would join me at church one Sunday. So here's for you, Christopher. My husband and I raised 7 children. I really enjoyed raising children. One of my greatest desires was that my kids would really know God. I don't mean just know about God. I don't mean just like hear Bible stories, but that they would know God, that they would have a desire. And that's really how it starts, that they would have a desire to know God. So I thought, wow, how can I do that? And I began praying about it. And God always answers prayer. And I'm usually surprised at the way in which it happens. That one afternoon, my husband was working in Washington, D.C., and we were living in Northern Virginia. And my number 2 son, Andrew, was running about the kitchen, kind of all around me, and it had begun to snow. And it was really snowing heavily. And I said, Andrew, I'm going to make dinner. Why don't you find something to do? And he said, well, can I go to the car and get the ball? And I had a very small infant there in the room, and I didn't want to leave him with the infant. He was just running around and really wired. And so I made the big mistake of giving him the key. A few minutes later, I looked outside and there was about a foot of snow on the ground and no Andrew. And so I opened the front door and I called him in, and he came in and told me he had lost the key. Well, I looked into the backyard, looked out my kitchen window, and I saw all these feet around the backyard, these footprints. I knew that was him. He had been all over the place. So I thought, gosh, I really need to go to the grocery store. But I'm just going to make some dinner for the moment and figure out what comes next. And so I gave Andrew the ball and I told him to go downstairs. We had a big basement. And I sat down there on the sofa next to the kitchen and I kind of prayed, Lord, what am I going to do? I really need these keys. And we had about a third of an acre, so it wasn't a quick fix, to know in a foot of snow where this key was. And I started praying for a moment and I just stopped and listened. And I kind of heard this voice say inside of me, it said, don't worry about the key. I'm going to show you where the key is tomorrow morning. Feed your kids. Everything will be okay. So I said, okay, good, good. And then the voice said, call your kids upstairs and tell the children. So I thought, wow, this is going to be crazy. So I called the kids upstairs and I told them what I'd heard, that we would find the keys in the morning and that God was going to take care of it. And I had one kid, my number 3, Brent, he said, really, Mom? Really? I mean, we really need to go to the grocery store. How are you going to find the key? I said, God's going to help me find it. So had a little dinner. Next morning, got them up and got everyone dressed. And honestly, I have to tell you that right before I opened my eyes, I saw the place where the keys were. I just saw it. And I thought, wow, thank you, God. This is going to really give my kids a testimony of their own. So we got dressed, we had breakfast, and put all of our stuff on and went outside. And the number 3 son, Brent, I said, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Non-Unbeliever Thomas, I'm going to tell you where the key is. So we walked out into the backyard and right to the place where the key was that I'd seen that morning. And I said to him, right there. I looked down at the ground. I said, put your hand right there. He put his hand down and he found the key. Well, I'll tell you, I've had some other really challenging moments of answered prayer. I wanted my kids to have that experience that God listens, He answers prayer, He's real. He's not just a story. So, this one's for you, Chris. The story of the key.